We're back once more with the Line Opinion Panel. Both Republican and Democratic parties held their pre-primary conventions this past weekend. The race is on for an open Senate seat. The 3 congressional seats are also on the ballot, with 1 vacated seat up for grabs by 2 defended by incumbents, I should say. Andy, on the U.S. Senate side, Republicans picked pro-life activist Elisa Martinez over TV personality Mark Ronchetti. Was that surprising to you, for either of those people, for Mr. Ronchetti or for her, where they finished up here?
Not particularly. I mean, I had been having conversations with people about, kind of placing unofficial bets on who was going to make it, but I think he's got Mark Ronchetti has a high profile. Everyone that watches KRQE remembers him as the weatherman. Elisa Martinez definitely sort of hit a market of voters that pro-life. She's Hispanic, she's female, sort of different than previous candidates. One thing I noticed, though, that seemed out of the norm was that Mick Rich dropped out almost immediately. And generally speaking, in my experience, even if people don't hit that threshold to get it automatically on the ballot, they'll go and they may even have those signatures ready to go to stay on there. But he got out after this is his second time. So.
Yeah. Were you surprised by the Ronchetti finish? Anything about that surprised you?
No, but I think overall, I think women were underestimated going into this. Because you only have, out of 4 races, which would be 8 two-top finishers, there are only 3 males. And I think a lot of people in the Republican Party discounted the impact Elisa Martinez had just by being a woman. Women have been underrepresented in New Mexico GOP for some time. It's gotten worse in recent years. And I think it's absolutely Representative Kelly Fajardo's Rise Foundation is doing a lot. And if you look down ballot, we've got more women running than ever.
There you go. Well, I got you, Yvette Herrell, Claire Chase. What's your sense of that? Were you surprised by where Yvette Herrell finished out there?
I was, because she has a great background. She has a great background as a legislator, and she started actually as an administrative assistant, so she really knows this very well. She's very well respected, but it seemed like all the money and all the momentum was going to Claire Chase, and so that was, and for me, a pleasant surprise.
Second congressional district, continuing on. Yvette Herrell, again, name ID carries something when you're talking congressional seats. You know what I mean?
Certainly. I think we don't anticipate generally seeing somebody coming out of literally nowhere, especially in these conventions. You expect the people who succeed are going to be the ones who have a history with the party, the support of the party, et cetera. And so the fact that this is not Yvette's first rodeo certainly, pointed to her finish there.
Let's go up north. CD3, Teresa Laguerre Fernandez. She ran away with it over.
She certainly did. She seemed surprised by that, which was really interesting. But certainly amongst activists, her name was at the top of their list. That's definitely what I heard. I am interested in the number of people, even from other states, who have said to me that they were surprised at Valerie Plame's outcomes. And I think that there was a sense amongst a certain portion of perhaps the less directly involved electorate who thought that she might have a lock on that, and then it turns out she doesn't. Now, I think the handwriting was on the wall for a while there on that. But to the point from earlier, I think she is ready with signatures, or my sense is that she's communicating that she certainly plans to try to move forward from that defeat, really.
Sure. You know, Dan, CD3, the Valerie Plame thing, as Sophie mentioned, if noise and activity was the all thing, she would have ran away with it, but barely 5%. It was really kind of shocking. She's going to stay in it for signatures, but your sense of that and what was spoken here?
She has a lot of money, so she's collecting a lot of donations, and fundraising is an important part of serving in Congress. The ability to raise money. So my sense is that she's going to be around for a while. There's been a lot of national attention that Teresa Laguerre Fernandez has picked up. I think people, sort of Democratic activists, are probably pretty tuned into her candidacy, and now that she had such a strong showing at the convention, that may buoy her a little bit further. It's a really crowded field, though, so it's hard to know who's going to win when you have this many candidates. It will not take. It's probably not going to take 50% of the vote to win. It will be someone who can hold on to to a significant chunk of the
That's
electorate.
a key point right there. Exactly right with a crowded field. We've not seen that in that district, for a long time. It's been interesting. Go ahead and take a cut at CD3 as well. Any surprises for you as you watch that unfold?
Not really. As we're talking about, I was thinking that I'm not that surprised that Valerie Plame didn't hit that threshold. I think that district, all districts in New Mexico are like this, but particularly that one is sort of territorial. And I think from the get-go, constituents there are kind of thinking, who is this person? I mean, they know who she is, but they're kind of asking questions, why is she coming in and doing this? What I was a little bit surprised about was John Blair, that he didn't pick up more votes. He's pretty well known in that circle. He has experience working in D.C. for, I believe, Senator Heinrich, Chief of Staff. He worked for Secretary of State Maggie Toulouse-Oliver. He's from Santa Fe. He's been out there kind of getting names. So I was a little bit surprised that he didn't get a higher number of votes.
Good point there. Merritt, I got a good one for you. This is interesting to me. In this so-called Republican divide, the Martinez, McCleskey acolytes, the Steve Pierce wing, what's going on there? Any clarity since the pre-primary convention on any of that?
No.
Okay.
No, I was saying before taping, I try to maintain an Excel spreadsheet of who hates whom this week in the New Mexico GOP, and it's really hard to see. I mean, again, the two unifying factors I saw that I found interesting. One, very women-focused. The other, Trump is going into all the down ballot races, and even though there was no other candidate at the pre-primary convention, it was all Trump. And so that's I find that interesting, how much that personality cult is taking over down ballot races.
Right. How much is this the McCleskey leftover heartburn? Is that a problem for Mr. Ronchetti at some point, or is that just insider baseball? It just really doesn't mean anything to the voter?
I think it is a problem, and I think if Melissa Martinez can harness that, she can probably really benefit. I don't know how her fundraising is, and I frankly didn't look. That's one thing we know Jay McCleskey is very good at, is fundraising from many sources without a lot of trail. So there will be money flowing in for sure.
And we have a deadline coming up as well, I believe, the end of this month. Or,
Yes.
Yeah, interesting
so
points
that
there.
will be interesting to see what he's able to do.
Right. Didn't want to shut you out of CD2. You did CD3. Did you have a thought on Yvette Harrell and Claire Chase down there? Anything that...
I don't. I mean, it's interesting. I think to the point about the women, it hadn't really occurred to me, but this is going to be a female race again, and it's not necessarily something that I expect from that particular district, but that is how it has ended up working out. And I will say, as a feminist and a Democrat, but as a feminist, that I think that's fantastic. We've had plenty of all-male races over the years, and I think it is wrong. It is wrong of feminists to believe that it will only ever be Democrats who run female candidates. We've seen over a decade now in New Mexico these strong female candidates from the Republican side here in New Mexico.
Building on what Sophie said, we could end up with 3 women serving in the U.S. House,
Correct.
depending on how these races turn out.
That's right. Good point there. How much stock should we put in these pre-primaries at the end of the day? Gary King, 2014, finished dead last, and he won the primary. Should we get too hung up on who did well in pre-primary stuff, historically speaking?
As you mentioned, Gary King is really the only example of someone who fared poorly in the convention but ended up winning the nomination. So, I think you might look at it as just sort of one of many different signs, fundraising, convention support.
Right.
It is an indicator, but it's not, the only thing. But certainly it can give people some momentum heading into campaign season.
Yeah, good points there. All right, thanks for everyone here for boning up on the topics this week and being brave enough to offer their thoughts. Really appreciate it. I'll be back in a moment with some final thoughts.